In this demo, we're going to make this necklace. As you can see, we're using some of the sheet metal. We're using some of the wire, both the 0.8 and the 0.4. We're using some of the sodalite, amazing strand of sodalite. So the bail, which is movable, all of it has been made from the kit. Then we've got some form of steel block or anvil. A steel block would be easier because the piece we're cutting out is bigger. Mine wasn't a hand, but definitely easier. Some form of dampener, either having your leather sandbag or a rubber board or something like that. Then we're going to need some shears or file saw to cut out your sheet. We're going to use the baling pliers later when we make the bail and when we make the flower. We need a file for the edges, exceedingly important. A round nose pliers with the wire. Some hole punch to make the holes punched. Then of course we need the whammer. Now again, in this demo I've used the rounded side, although not much. Oh no, I have used the rounded side and the dapping head. Okay, so let's get going. So first of all, we're going to do the flower. Now this is made out of the 0.8. I know it looks flat, it's not the sheet, it's actually out of the wire. Very easy to do. We're going to start off with some 0.8. If you want to cut it off the reel, do so, but you don't really have to. Also, if you want to measure it, again, you can do so. We're just going to bend over the wire. I would recommend, as well as your round nose, that you have some chainmail pliers. Now I did it so that it was a thumb width and about that much, but it doesn't matter. You just want, it's an arbitrary amount to make the flower. So you want to have 5 peaks for the 5 petals about the same size. So up and down 5 times. If they're not identical, don't worry too much about it, just be a bit wary of it going bigger and bigger and bigger. So if it goes a little bit bigger there, just put it down on there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, one more, because most flowers are not identical. Now see how that slipped below? Let's come away from there. If you've got a jig, it's the ideal time to use it. Pop it on the jig and just go up and down, or you can actually create a flower shape itself on the jig. So I'm going to come down there and then I'm going to bend it so that we know where we're at the end of the flower. You can use your shears or a pair of snips, wire cutters, to cut your wire. Now, so we've got this funny shape. We're going to bend those in a bit. Okay, just make those loops, and I'm going to make this is the inner edge. So we're going to spread these around roughly into our petal shape and bend these two so that they're almost parallel coming out. So those are going to be our stem. Open up your first loop, and this is where the baling pliers, around those pliers you could do, but you need quite a big one. So I'm coming down to the middle, the larger of the middle two in my 6th step, and I'm literally using it to bend that way. And if you hold the bottom when you bend, you kink out that, but you're also creating that upper, your convex and then your concave. This just gives you a nice shape to your petal. Open that one up. So we're going to go holding onto the bottom, bend it. It's weird doing it at a funny angle. Bend in and then turn it around and bend the other way. So you get this sort of pie shape. So you're going to go around all of your petals doing that, even-ish, until you get this sort of shape. Brilliant for doing wire weaving on or anything like that. It's a cracking flower shape to have. but we're going to do something different. So get it into more or less where you want to go. Now we're going to work on the outer edges of this petal, and we're going to cause them, we want to spread and flatten out this wire. So be sure you're in a shape you want. Then we're going to put this onto here, and using the rounded head of the pliers, you're going to stroke. So hitting it and stroking. So we're really working this wire. Okay, so you can see it's already starting to move. And you're pushing outwards in a stroking way. So you're not just going from the centre out, you're also going from the centre of the petal out. Okay, and you'll start, and the other thing you'll notice is this then is very hard. See how that one moves? This one hardly does. This is now exceedingly hard. You're work hardening your wire. Okay, so again, we're going to hammer that out. And you're really working on the shape. So you can use this to actually make a difference to the shape you're creating. So depending on which way you do it, so if you push it that way, you'll spread it more that way. And the thicker your wire is, so this is a 0.8 wire, the thicker your wire is, the more of an effect you can get. So if you did this with a 1mm wire or a 1.5 wire, then you'll really be able to get it. You can tell it's getting thicker and spreading, because look how much that spreads open, and you will find as you go round, gosh, that's really quite hard now, that it will alter the shape. So you have to you'll have to put it back in. Remember, don't do that. Hold it at the end, because that's where you're getting the full force of this hammer, and it's so well designed that if you hold it there, you're nullifying the effect. So really work the edges, and then you're going to work down the stalks just to spread those stalks as well. And you can go quite flat at the end. So I'll move this in a moment. Just want to show you how much you can do. So you can see, if I move those out of the way, how much you've spread that wire from what it was up here. Now, of course, this is then going to be sharp right at the edge where you've cut your wire. It's going to be sharp. It won't be sharp around the petals, but it will be sharp there. So when you trim it to the length you want, you'll need to sort of just file round that edge. So next we're going to go to the sheet metal, and you want to cut out, we're cutting out this sort of wave effect. So mark it on. So I've marked it on with, it's an indelible pen, but they do come off, and also you can turn it over. Cut it out with your snips. Be very careful. You'll be fine going around this side. When you get to here, it might be worth doing that edge first and then coming back round. Just be aware, as you're turning this, it's really going to pull, so you've got a chance of snagging yourself. So take care when you're doing that edge. What I mean is like that. Okay, just be a bit careful. That edge is fine. Going out, it's the concave edge that's going to be difficult. So take great care when you're doing that. File down your edges, and as we did in the other demo, you're going to use your dapping, thank you, your dapping head to get this texture. Now, I actually love the reverse texture almost as much, because that reminds me almost of blossom. You know, that sort of dappled effect you get with the little blossoms, very much out in the spring at the moment. We're going to pop 2 holes in this now. So again, you want your hole punch. I've got a whole load of pliers there. We're going to pop 1 in the top for our bail. And then you want 2. Now think about where you're going to position this flower. Do you want it at the bottom? Do you want it in the middle? I think I'm going to put this one slightly more central. So I'm going to pop 2 holes about 4 or 5 mil apart, something like that. It's not an exact science. Just pop those through. As with the other demo, be aware you're going to have rough edges, so just give them a tap with your hammer and a bit of a file to make sure you've got those rid of those rough edges. Now we're going to pop this on, so I'm going to fetch that in so that the flower's closed up a bit, and we're going to use those holes and some of the 0.4 wire. Okay, just pull this 0.4 wire out. And if you secure this together, you don't have to go round all of them, just going to go round and through the middle. Well, I have done all of them, round and through the middle, just to hold make sure the flower is actually in one piece. Round and through the middle. Okay, then we're going to go down through the holes. There we go. And you can go back up so that you just get in this cross of wire at the back and finish the wire off at the front. So you've got a minimum of wire at the back. I'll push that one over because I don't want to cross it. Okay, we'll come this side then. There we go, fetch that back through there. You can wrap one of these off round your flower, then you're going to take your little, well, not so little, gemstone, pop it on, and then if you trim this wire off and use around those pliers to roll it down, and I've done it like this because I've kept to literally what's in the kit. Now I would trim that down a bit, or maybe leave it as a bit of a feature, and you can just make sure that brings it into place and secures it, and then trim. Okay, so trim that wire off, and then whoops, the mistake you can see is I've put it on the wrong way round. So if you've already done the drill hole, done the hole for the bail, just make sure it's on the right way. You want to cut another piece that's about 5 to 7 mil. Then just using your bailing pliers, you're going to fold it in half. Again, you want quite a round one. Okay, pop a hole in each side. Now you're going to have to make sure this hole is exactly the same place. So I would recommend you go through there and mark it some way. Oh, there you go, and I've punched it through anyway. Okay, so once you've punched that hole through, then all you've got to do is pop that through there. Use a little piece of your 0.8. There's our 0.8. We're just going to pop a little piece of that. Make a little loop. And again, if you have some thicker wire at home, you could use a rivet. So you're just going to pop a little tiny loop at the front. Go through, straight through that back one. And then trim it and pop a little loop on the back to give you the fastener. And then all you've got to do is make a chain. I've even just hammered the ends of these again. It work hardens your clasp, just hammer it around the outside, and then you've got your little pendant.